Right now?
Like think it's cringy or
Okay,
like
actually, look at my question. Not
okay.
enough, but it's okay.
Okay, your question.
Oh man. Okay.
Is this gonna go on YouTube?
Hmm?
Is this gonna go on YouTube?
You think you should?
I'm just asking, but
We're about to get the interview started right now.
are those the questions?
Don't look at my questions.
Okay, I won't look at your question.
Yeah, please don't do that. Got my phone right here. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
Okay.
Tell me a little about yourself and your identity.
My identity. Holy good question.
Yeah, I didn't make these questions.
Who made these questions? Oh, okay.
They're waiting. They're waiting.
Let me look up what identity means, because that's...
Okay. So you just go straight, whatever comes to your mind.
I mean, when I think about identity, like, that's such a broad question. I don't know.
What was the first thing that came to your mind when you heard it?
Like, who am I as
You want me to ask you again? No.
Sure.
Tell me a little about yourself and your identity. So you could get close to it, be like, start saying stuff about yourself and it might come to your mind.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, I have such a hard time talking about myself. So when I think about identity, I think about, characteristics and essentially how that makes me navigate life. So like, I mean, this is what I hear from other people. People say that I'm a bleeding heart, or that I just show a lot of love and light to people, or that I am a light in their life. And when it comes to my own personal identity, how I perceive myself, I think I perceive myself as duality. There is characteristics of myself like any other human being that shows like a part where it's love and light and compassion, but there's also that identity of people where we show anger and fear and loss and all the things that we associate with like our darkest self. So I guess
You say our doctor self?
darkest
Oh, darkest. I'm sorry. What year were you born?
98. I'm only 26.
98.
Yeah, I'll be 27 in March.
Do you consider yourself a millennial or Gen Z? I ask you this because millennials are 1981 to 1996.
Okay. And what are Gen Zs?
Anything beyond that?
Anything beyond that?
Yeah, so anything from I would say anything from 96 and forward.
And forward?
But I'm asking you what you would consider yourself, you identify more with.
I mean, I would say both. I wouldn't necessarily say one or the other, because I also grew up in a time where, people say that, if you're a millennial, you remember when phones weren't a thing. And I'm like, I have a very clear memories of me having a house phone and me dealing with minutes and me having to go to the store and pay for minutes. Or even now, like younger Gen Zs have that, like the you can talk to talk in Mexico or talk to Mexico for free, like because it comes with your plan now. And we used to have to pay for it with a card. Like you used to get minutes, you have to go to the store and pay $5 for it. But yeah, anyways, I don't know, both.
Okay, that's I don't know if you noticed, but you said you would consider yourself duality, and just now you had said both. Taking notes. How long have you lived in San Diego?
Since I was 3 or 2.
Since you were 3 or 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you consider yourself an immigrant?
I wouldn't necessarily consider myself an immigrant. I mean, yes, I came from Phoenix. Like, that's where I was born. I was born in Phoenix, so, I mean, yeah, I moved places, but I wouldn't necessarily consider myself an immigrant. I think, like, coming from an immigrant family, yes. Being a first generation, yes, technically, so,
And what does first generation mean? So you could tell them?
When you're the first generation to be here in the U.S. after your parents migrated from a different country. That's how I would describe it, but I know that there's like an actual definition for it. But first gen, yes.
So your parents are immigrants?
Yes. My mom is.
Excuse me.
You're excused.
Thank you. What country are you originally from?
I mean, where I was born?
Yeah, I don't know the country we live in. That's actually a
We
fact.
live in the United States.
So that's for both of us.
But my like ethnicity is, Latino, Latina, Latinx.
Thank you. We're here for you, and because I feel we missed a step, we care about what you guys say. So who are you? First and last name?
Giselle Rocha.
Um,
I'm not, yeah, just Giselle Rocha.
Thank you. I feel like this is important so they can figure this out. Where are we currently at? And
we are at heARTSpace in City Heights, 3619 El Cajon Boulevard. And this is a creative hub / studio space, event space for creatives and artists in all spectrums of levels. So they could be emerging, starting out, beginner, intermediate, advanced, whatever. And it can also be used as gallery space and photo studio. We have a podcast studio for people who want to use audio.
Would you call this a home?
Yeah, I think I would call this a home.
Okay.
I think it's more of like, it feels like home. But I think it's more of in the sense of, it's not a physical home, but this is like, I carry home with me, so it's a home. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Come check it out. Describe something positive about yourself.
Yikes.
About your generation. I'm sorry. I misread that.
About my generation? For Gen Z, I feel like we are very outspoken. Or there's that part of us that kind of is... Am I allowed to cuss?
I'm gonna say yeah.
Or like...
But just please not too much.
So there's this culture around employment. People are saying that the younger generation doesn't want to work anymore, and there's that aspect of ourselves, or Gen Zs, or younger millennials, however we see fit, or however it's transcribed, where we stand up for ourselves and kind of root ourselves outside of like the regular norms of the business thing. Like, we're supposed to be numbers and we're supposed to do all this stuff, and we're kind of just like, no, that's not what we do. Like, we have to take care of ourselves and worry about us and our community rather than punching numbers into a thing, or meeting a quota, or writing a report. That's we're human, we're not robots. And I think that's the biggest aspect of what I like about the generation that surrounds me. It's the we're human aspect. That's what I like most.
So, you said you identify with Gen Z and millennial, right? So, we gonna call it we're gonna call it Millie X.
Millie X?
Millie Z.
Millie Z?
Yes.
Not Selenial?
There was a word for it. So silly. Zillennials. I like that. That's cool. It sounds like a tiger.
There's actually a Facebook group for Zillennials. It's so funny.
I don't got Facebook.
I was there when Facebook was first made, and everybody was.
You was there?
I wasn't there, but I was in a time where I was conscious enough to know the start of social media.
I want to touch on that topic again, but before that, what's something that you feel Zillennials have accomplished?
I don't fucking know. I really don't know.
I'm from Generation Z.
Yeah, you're like the younger.
I am.
Yeah. What do you feel?
What if it was biggest accomplishment?
Yeah.
Is me.
You?
Yeah, I'm out
Okay.
here. I'm putting in that work.
All right.
But I feel something that we've definitely accomplished. With something that we are accomplishing is like inclusivity.
Okay.
Like we're working to solidify it.
Yeah. I feel that. That's a good answer.
Thank you. How will Zillennials make the world and our community a better place?
Well, as someone who is involved in a lot of community policy, arts education, now is a creative entrepreneur, I see a lot of like individuals who are younger than me and older than me continuing to make strides to build a better world or like a better community. So I don't know if I'm answering this question right, but
There's no right or wrong.
what was the question again?
It's okay.
I just lost it.
No, it's okay. It's okay. How do you think Zillennials will make the world and our community a better place?
Okay. Yeah. I was going the right way.
Of course.
But yeah, because of that, I feel like these specific generations definitely are worrying more about what's going on around them rather than like, things that are happening across the world. Like they're trying to take care of now so that there's a legacy to continue to build on. And I think that's one of the greatest like things that these generations continue to strive for is just building something that will last.
I like that.
Because we got left in shambles, so it's kind of like now we got to rebuild, and in this rebuild we're also trying to be mindful about everybody and not be robots, be humans, and continue to work the way that we see fit, or just in general how our body see fits, because we only got so much to live, and if we all like team up and work together and actually like try to build something out of it, then yeah. But I think that's one of the things that contribute to a lot of the things that have been changing so far. Is this generation's willingness to continue to build the communities around them and come back to educate and come back to build art and come back to just be powerful humans.
I like that. We're gonna get a cut for now. We're gonna get a break. I'm gonna catch you guys momentarily. Oh wow, guys, that was an intense break. Okay, look, guys, that was such an intense break. We're back. So I have a question for you to welcome you back to the interview. What words of wisdom or advice would you give future generations?
There's this phrase that I've been hearing a lot, and whatever, you can take it or leave it, or take it with a grain of salt, or continue on to moving on forward. But I always say to be cringe is to be free, meaning like any single action that you bring that's your truest self, regardless if people think it's cringe or not, like just keep going. It's better to discover yourself now and continue to go about the world in a way that you feel your truest self. And I think that's the greatest gift you can give anybody and yourself, like being you, regardless of whatever anybody says, regardless of if people like think it's cringy or anything like that. So yeah, and I do say that a lot just because I'm still young. I'm 26. I'm not as old as a lot of like my peers, but finding your truest self is such a great catalyst to how you can continue to navigate the world and in career and what aligns with you and what doesn't. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, that's a great answer. Have you found yourself?
Yeah, for the most part. I think there's definitely things that I'm still working around, um, especially as somebody who has gone through like extensive amounts of, you know, trauma and like life and things happen, and there's definitely a lot of that I have to take into account in order to really like move forward and continue to see what works for me, what doesn't, and what makes me feel comfortable, what makes me feel happy, and how can I continue to do that as I like move into into life and getting older. Yeah.
So they want to figure out how to find themselves. What's one piece of advice you got?
Be comfortable with who you are by yourself. I know that like even in high school and middle school, like people are so worried about relationships and stuff, but or like what this other person's wearing or if I fit in, but I think the greatest power you can give yourself is giving yourself the time to know like yourself and not what other people tell you to like. If you like to, you know, sit down quietly in a corner and read a book, or if you like to draw and you just want some space to do that and your friends are okay with it and they acknowledge that, you know, this is a time that you need for yourself, then that's a start. Finding friends that accept you for you and like all the things that come along with you, whether it's like you need space or if you know, need hugs or all the stuff that usually you don't get because of society and norms and stuff like that. But getting to know yourself in a way that you actually make decisions for yourself.
That's gonna help them a lot in life. Another question. What is the defining moment of your generation?
In what way? Like, I guess my generation is filled with memes. Just memes. Harambe being one of those. Getting stuck in a pandemic. Going through TikTok. Like, it's just a bunch of, you know, what they... Just, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain that. Like, Gen Z is just Gen Z. They really, like, think as Gen Z as a generation that is too much of something that other generations weren't. But if you think about it, past generations basically birthed us. So I'm like, we're more free. I'm gonna just say that. Free emotionally.
Free emotionally. Write that down. Write that down. So, what 3 words would you use to describe your generation? We can start off with memes.
Memes. I guess like open heart. And open heart in the sense of like duality, because having an open heart can also be a catalyst to other things that cause us to harm ourselves. So it's definitely like a dual form of what entails an open heart. Memes, open heart, and just like the willingness to see a legacy, I guess. Yeah.
Legacy, memes, and open heart.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. I like that. I agree with that. Have you heard about the greatest generation?
I mean, which one is the greatest generation?
Quite literally, it's titled the greatest generation because they fought the most wars.
Is it not the boomers, is the boomers? Or
Uh,
is it the silent generation?
the one before, the silent generation actually came after the greatest generation. There's, there's,
There's one more?
what do you mean?
One more generation before that?
Yes, before the silent generation
Mm-hmm.
was the greatest generation, and they call them that because they've actually fought in the most wars,
Okay.
such as like World War II. So they
Yeah.
like way back.
Like 1, 2, all the battles and stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
The Great Depression, all the stuff that's going on. Yeah. Okay.
So yes, there's the greatest generation, but my question to you is, what's great about your generation?
What's great?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know that yet. I mean, I know that I said that there's great things happening for that generation, but in the sense, it's like that also goes with I don't necessarily would know how to answer that besides just saying that we don't care.
That's important.
Yeah, like we don't care about norms. I think that's I think one of the great things. Well, yeah, I guess so. Norms. We just throw them out the window. Everybody follows whatever they want to follow.
I would agree with that. Have you ever questioned if the world you live in would be around for the next generation?
Yeah, all the time. I think. No.
Would you like me to re-ask the question?
Yeah, ask the question.
No worries. Have you ever questioned if the world you live in would be around for the next generation?
Okay. Yeah, so I have a kid. I think about it all the time. Ironically and unironically. Just because there's so much happening outside and even in our own communities that make it really hard to be hopeful. And although, yes, I am hopeful all the time about what's going to happen in the future, I think that thought is still there. It lingers. Like, we have wars going on. We have, battles in our own community, disparities, and things that continue to happen, and how, like, basic needs aren't met around the world. You know, we're human. We need these things to survive. So, yeah, I always think about that.
I agree. I also think a lot if my kids will be around.
Mm-hmm.
How can we make our community a better place for the next generation?
I think that's such a broad question, because if you look, I'm just specifically talk with like Gen Zs, but when you look at the Gen Z generation, like some of us are still in high school, and some of us are so lost, and I feel that, like, feeling lost and not knowing what you want to do next, or not having the right, let's say, like, systems to really support passions moving forward. So it's really hard to build on a community that doesn't have the right tools to continue to navigate further. Like, let's say, like, I know that in some spaces it's really hard to educate certain people, and not just necessarily like in school and stuff, but like we're in such a digital boom that even like human interaction is such a, like, it's decreasing, um, and it already is hard enough to get ourselves out of that pocket to continue to build our community. Like, we basically have to teach our youth and teach ourselves how to care enough for it to actually build on something and make the commitment long term, because short term don't work no more. Like, you got to make the commitment long term in order to continue to build that, and that's hard as it is. So, I mean, in order to build that, like, we have to connect with our youth, connect with the people around us, like, really care. If we don't care right now, then who's gonna say, like, we're gonna care in the future?
I agree. I think there's this idea that, like, the future is super unknown, but I think people often forget that the present is quite literally the future.
Yeah, and I mean, and we learn from our mistakes from the past, but in general, the more that we're present and within care of, like, our community, and show that we have compassion for those around us, like, that's already a big connector to how we will navigate life and how we navigate things that we love and care and continue to build on.
So, um, this has actually been brought up multiple times throughout the interview. Um, but describe some major inventions or discoveries that have impacted you or your community.
Uh, that impacted me or my community. I mean, it's always gonna be the digital stuff.
I agree.
Like, We got things, we have access to so much things through our fingertips that some of us use it for good things, some of us use it for bad things, and some of us use it just to distract or like, you know, do the day-to-day stuff. And I think with that, I always tell myself that I rather consume less and create more. Because then if we consume more and create less, we're just stuck on our phones or on the web being like, damn, I can't do this, or damn, like I'm not good enough to do that. But if you really just take off all that and just continue to build on what you already have, there's no say that you can't do it. Digital. Sometimes I really do miss not having access to all this stuff. Like when I used to, at some point. When I used to, what's it called? When I used to just walk around with my CD player and like my wired headphones, or you know, a little MP3 player that was probably like, I don't know, how do I say it? I think it's like the size of, like half the size of this. It was like half the size. It was like literally like. Oh yeah, a tiny MP3 player. It was an MP3. It was like tiny, and the only thing you can do is listen to the radio, and it had like a USB that popped out, and then just in there, and it was like 100 songs. Yeah, and that's it. That's all you could do. And then not having phones, like not having everybody access you 25/8. Like, oh, Giselle's not home. I'll call her in 3 hours. Maybe she'll be home. Or camp outside her house. Yeah. Or go and show up at her house and be like, hey, yo, where you at? You know? Yeah. Okay, then. How do you think phones have impacted your generation? We do a lot of dumb crap, to be honest. I agree. We do so much dumb stuff just for clout. It's not the worst and it's not the best, but it's like, it's mindless. And I hate to sound like this, but it's like, can we think about what is it? Here it comes. Jaden Smith said, he's like, can we think about the...
Oh my God! Like, can we talk about like the political and economic state of the world right now?
The state of the world. State of the world. Yeah. That's legit. That's legit. I hate being that person, but like, for real though, can we actually care? Oh my God. Can we talk about the economical, political state of the world? God, that's so bad. That's golden. But you know what? To be cringe is to be free. There you go. See? I agree with that. I agree with that. That's beautiful. I would like to comment that I think one of the major impacts that phones have had on our generation is the idea that there is no consequences, since everything is so digital and like you said, mindless. I think phones have impacted us so much to the point that I feel there's been a takeaway of consequences because of how much consumption there is, and there's like you don't understand what it's doing to you. In that sense, it takes away consequences, and also like you could get away with a lot of stuff because you're behind your phone. Yeah, I mean, yeah, people show up with like shootings, and it's like this brings me back, like the first couple of years of YouTube, and there being a lot of it's okay. There being a lot of like videos about cartel decapitating people, like it not being censored the way that it is now. And then now we have TikTok that's like early form YouTube where they literally show everything, and there's no real consequences to it. And I mean, we've only had social media for like 20 years-ish or less. So it's like, how can you really tell the effect that it has on your brain and your life.
I agree.
When we only had this little chunk amount of time with technology like that. And in a way that it's like a super boom, because now we have access to what's happening in, you know, the war across seas. Now we have access to like all the disparities that happen in other countries. Like we see it. Like it's there in our phones. We just need to look it up, or like the algorithm will show you because you watched, I don't know, like 3 seconds of one, and it'll show it to you again after a couple of ones. So
That's true.
that's just that.
That's deep. Describe what you think is the most important problem to solve for the next generation.
That's a good question.
I agree.
I mean, there's so many layers to that though. Cause even for me, or a lot of like people in our community, it's always the basic needs: housing, food, you know, access to resources within our communities that are walkable. That could be something. Education. Like, what happened to all the education fundings that was like back in the 50s and 60s, where you would actually get home ec and like mechanic school and all the things that you wouldn't get in school now. And only certain schools in San Diego County have that. Not all the schools in San Diego have it. So it's just like access to funding, and then basic needs stuff, things that don't make life so freaking difficult.
It's okay, you can do it, cuz. You say it.
And then there's also, I don't know, just the ability to live. If basic needs are met in a sense that, you know, whether it makes it more attainable, then that would make the next generation at least be able to thrive in a much better way than whatever we're struggling with right now. Because even for me, going through an economic crisis that I had to live through in the '08, and then had to go through a pandemic, and then 9/11, and then all this stuff, you know, it's all catalyst to all the things, but in the end, it all affects whatever we're doing now. So we need our basic needs and be more educated, for sure.
More education, I like that. Was the problem resolved? To what extent? How?
The ones that I just said? I mean, no. The Department of Ed is still trash.
I know what that is.
It's the people that handle the education systems. Yeah. Like, teachers aren't getting paid enough. You know, there's not enough resources in schools to really, really give youth what they need in this era. Specifically in this era, because it ain't the same of how it was before, you know, before modern technology came. I mean, yes, we got Promethean boards, but even then it's like, what is that gonna do? Like, you know, there's schools that even just take away phones by the time you start school, just because it's so much easier to have you concentrate without them. I don't know.
Have you heard about this is true, by the way, there's this law that they're trying to pass currently where they take away phones from like the get-go. And a few schools have actually already implemented this. I forgot their names. But there are a few schools like near Lincoln where they already take away phones.
Well, not gonna lie, that's kind of better. But I mean, I would say as somebody who didn't grow up with phones until, like, I didn't have a cell phone until high school. Yeah. I didn't have a cell phone until high school, and even then, like, if I really needed to call my mom, I had to go use the school phone or the front office to be like, hey, I really need to talk to her or something. And that's about it. And I get it. Like, there's so many layers to that too, because now we got school shootings, and now we got all these like stuff like that. But in reality, these happen because like mental health. These happen because, you know, we're not really interacting with people. And obviously, you know, some people really just are not it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
I actually believe the exact same thing. I believe we're better off with no phones, or at least schools are, because there was this argument brought up about emergencies. But I genuinely feel as though the school can contact whoever they need to contact through emergencies, like, or there's so many places to keep a phone where, like, if it really comes down to it, which I can't even think of an emergency where the school just wouldn't be able to contact who they need to contact to be like, hey, this is happening currently right now.
I mean, they have a mass, like, e-blast system. They have e-blast, and they have texts going out to, and I know this because I'm a parent. They have text. They text me if there's like an event. If they text me if there's an emergency, they email and text, and they send out a voicemail message or whatever. So, if they wanted to, they would. They could. But I think even then, like, there's that duality of, like, being a parent. It's like, oh, where's my kid? Is my kid fine? And I mean, I get that. I completely get that. But also, like, how are we supposed to make sure that our community is safe if we're not checking in on our people, too? Like, a lot of these school shooters, they're like, I was bullied, or I was sad, or I was depressed, and they go the mental health route, or, like, they go, there's another controversy on that, too, but if we really had the resources that we needed, we would be able to stop a lot of the things that are happening mental health wise. Not necessarily with, like, school shooters, but, like, mental health wise. Suicide being one of those things that impacts youth the most.
Ooh. Do you know about the UN sustainability thingies? My question to you is, which UN sustainability goal does the problem you just mentioned, which was like mental health, basic needs, which UN sustainability goal does this problem relate to? And please explain.
It's literally the first, like, 7. The first 7. Which is no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, good quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, and affordable and clean energy. That's basic needs. I mean, obviously there's, like, the other half where it's like jobs. You need to have infrastructure, sustainable cities and community. That's another one, because you need, in order to be housed, you need to have sustainable and communities that, like, can provide you with the resources that you need, whether it's mental health, food, like services, clean water, all the things. So, yeah, literally half of those.
Thank you for explaining. So, this is the last segment of the show. First thing I want to say is, so I believe that behind every joke is a little bit of truth. And before we started recording, you said, you got me looking all, and she say something else. I want to let you know you look beautiful from A to Z.
You're
And
annoying.
Thank you. This is a good way to compliment me back. So I wrote down.
He's one of my mentees.
I'm
I get
minty.
to say it.
So 5
You
words.
minty fresh.
Yeah, I'm super fresh. So I wrote down 5 words while we was doing the interview.
Okay.
For my first word, I got powerful, then I got authentic, and then I got kind. Then I got welcoming, and then I'll say duality.
Okay. So what is all that?
That's what, for me, what comes to mind when I think of you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I said in this interview, go eat something, go drink something. Would you like to say anything to them? Oh, that's nice. So, yeah. I hope you guys
I said
enjoyed
it with my mind's eye.
Yeah. That's silly. Tell us something. Say goodbye. You can say bye now.
The millennial thing. Here you go. Peace.
That's what we cut.